Hello everyone, welcome back to Community Starcraft 2. We're going to be taking a look at another game here that I just randomly downloaded. It's going to be between Dahl, who is the red Protoss up here on the top right of Xel'Naga Caverns. He's going to be facing CCalms, which is the blue Protoss, on the bottom left of Xel'Naga Caverns. A little bit of chatter to start this up. I do believe this is a ladder game considering the standard colors, and I do believe this is a Masters League game based upon the little information in the replay itself. This is a Protoss versus Protoss, which used to be a pretty boring matchup in most people's eyes, but since the patch has actually changed quite a bit, there's a lot of new stuff coming out that you don't usually see, like compositions such as Zealot Archon, a lot of more Stargate play that I have seen. And it makes it so that it's not just a 4-gate versus 4-gate battle. It usually goes into longer macro games where true counters and micro and unit positioning and macro and stuff like that actually matter. Whereas previously in Protoss versus Protoss, it was basically either a cannon rush, proxy gateways, or a 4-gate right outside your base, and it was really boring and annoying to always play that stuff, at least coming from a Protoss player such as myself. Both gateways going down at pretty much the same time. Both of them have identical unit counts with the exception of this blue Protoss player who has one extra probe. He's on just a little bit faster timing, but I don't think in the grand scheme of things it's going to make too big of a difference. This probe in here just really being annoying, trying to bug these probes that are mining in order to try to screw up Calms' mining time or just his concentration, which, I mean, any probe that can get in here and be pesky like this is going to obviously divide your attention, and if you can divide it enough, you're going to throw them off their build just a little bit. And in these high-level replays, especially in mirror matchups, every little advantage is going to be such a huge gain if you can get that. So that's what Dahl is trying to do here by being irritating with this probe. If you're Calms, you try to just ignore it as much as you can, but if he's fighting your probes, you need to dedicate some sort of attention to fighting him off. There's a little bit of an interesting wall off here from Calms. Not necessarily a wall, but it's like a barricade around his nexus. I will build like this every once in a while in Protoss versus Protoss, sometimes even in Protoss versus Terran, just because if you really need a safe haven away from like Zealots or to prevent pathing for Hellions, you can build like this so that you can hide all your units behind these buildings if there's like Zealots running around inside your base really early that you don't expect. There's a gas steal going down for Calms, just trying to delay Dahl's tech if he can. Dahl actually has a little bit of Chrono Boost pent up. You'd usually see a Chrono Boost go down on your Cybernetics core as soon as you start your Warpgate research. We'll see how this gas steal comes into play, and it obviously will reveal any units that Dahl has coming on the field until this assimilator is gone. So, interesting. You don't see that very often. And again, he's continuing with this little wall in here, blocking off entry paths into the mineral line. So, considering he is on double gas, we're going to see some kind of tech play. To me, as a Protoss player, this almost says Dark Templar, but this is a pretty fast second gateway, so there's a lot of different directions he could go from here. We'll have to see where he decides to transition into. Stalker's finally trying to knock down this assimilator. You can see it doesn't do a whole lot of damage to it. It's going to take this one Stalker a while in order to get that down. 2 more gateways are going up in Dahl's base, and we do see a Twilight Council going down in Calm's base, so again, he is on that path for the Dark Templar teching, but he could just go for a quick blink play, throw down a 3rd gateway, and try to pressure off of that. We do see his Stalkers moving out. He is going for that sort of 3-Stalker opening that Artosis popularized, so we're going to see how he does with this. And you can see any sort of probe that you see wandering around with this 3-Stalker build is very alarming. He just wants to catch that probe and kill it so it can't set up a proxy pylon here at his front door. Meanwhile, Dahl is going to put down a robotics in addition to his 3 gateways, so if he puts out Immortals against this Blink Stalker play, which we are seeing Blink coming down now for Calms, then that's going to be a huge advantage for Dahl, assuming both of them have equal micro, since the Immortal just chugs out damage against Stalkers. Stalkers do an okay amount, but in equal army sizes, the Immortal is going to win that battle. More Stalkers are coming out here for Calms, that is, not Claims. He is still on 2 gateways right now, so it's a little unusual. There's his 3rd gate dropping down right now, and there is an Immortal in production off of this robotics facility. You have to wonder if just the game sense is kicking in here based upon the units he saw in the field, if Immortal he felt was the right call. It so far is, but and sometimes in Protoss versus Protoss, or really any mirror matchup, sometimes the little tech pattern variations that you choose can be a little bit of a coin toss. So in this case, Dahl's coin toss is going to be working out for him, assuming his micro is good. He's going to be putting out an observer after this immortal. So if you have this many stalkers on the field, and if you're planning on using blink stalker play, you need to be really, really fast with it, especially if you see robotics coming up, because 3 immortals is pretty much the magic number for them. They will almost one-shot a stalker with all 3 of their fire focused on stalkers, and stalkers dropping that fast is so devastating to try to deal with. Here we go. We're going to see a little bit of an engagement as CCalms sets up at the bottom of Dahl's ramp. Dahl's just kind of posturing here at the top of the ramp. With this unit composition in particular, as I addressed in another video, you don't want to engage at chokes like this, so it would be wise of him just to back up a little bit so he can get a better engagement angle on this army coming up. Here we go. Zealots are pressing forward. There's a lot of Zealots just bumping into each other and not doing anything. This is why you don't want to engage at ramps. But this Immortal is shelling out a lot of damage. A warp in on the low ground is going to be a good position in order to get these Zealots in here and try to deal with these Stalkers. This pack of Stalkers and Immortal is just shelling out so much damage on these Stalkers. You can see what a correct choice this was. All these Stalkers are in the red, basically meaning they're at half health for the rest of the game until they die. More Stalkers coming here to reinforce. His Robotics Bay is inactive right now, so you'd like to see him put out another Immortal to try to fend this off. He may be in a little bit of trouble here as the Stalkers try to push up the ramp. There are no Zealots on the field right now. It's just a bunch of Stalkers and an Immortal versus a bunch of Stalkers. So we'll see whose unit micro is better. You can see him microing his units back and forth, putting this Immortal in the back to try and prevent it from taking as much damage as possible. Blink is now coming up in response for Dahl to counter these Blink Stalkers, but not necessarily counter, but kind of put them on level playing field. Another Immortal is finally getting chrono boosted out. Another engagement here at the ramp. These Blink Stalkers do blink back, but he is being a little bit overly cautious with these Blink Stalkers, I feel. If he was able to focus down this Immortal while its shields were lowered, that would be a huge win and might even win in the game. So he's probably just being a little bit cautious, not really knowing how to engage this army fully, or perhaps just erring on the side of caution since he is not really all in at this point. I know he is producing probes behind this, so it's a good indication that he is not planning to try to end the game right here, but he will take any advantage he can get. He is following these Stalkers back just a little bit, kind of walking back and forth. Of course, Dahl with his observer has full vision on what's going on. Behind this, actually, though, we're seeing a Ninja Nexus coming up for CCalms. And we did see an interesting thing going up here. I swear I saw a Dark Shrine just flash up and then go back down. So I have to wonder if this... Yeah, there it goes again. Putting this back up, I wonder if he just didn't want to get that scouted. So this is a great read here from Dahl, not seeing any robotics units or any observers on the field, basically saying he has no detection out. So if he gets Dark Templars on the field, then that's really going to wreck his day, since he has no detection whatsoever. But this expansion is going to be weird in terms of how it plays into it. Obviously, Dahl is not going to be aware of this unless he has scouted it with an observer. Dahl is now pushing out in order to try to end this Blink Stalker pressure once and for all. A little bit of an bad engagement angle here as these Immortals are kind of just bumping into each other, not getting the damage off that they really want. He does have vision on the high ground here with this pylon, so really good play to blink down to the low ground. Usually you would never want to blink down to low ground, but if you have vision, it can be beneficial, especially against all these melee units like Zealots. He's just going to focus down the pylon and try to get this army stuck here. The army will run away, though. If he had tried to meet him right here, that would have been a lot of trouble, considering there's really no other way he's going to be able to get out of this situation. Dahl now falling back to his ramp. Nexus is going to be going down at his natural, well behind his opponent, but this Dark Shrine is going to start coming into play. It is now finishing up. We will see a few Dark Templar on the field. He does have excess gas in order to warp in a couple of them, since their cost, as we can see here, is 125 gas, so he could actually warp in 3 if he had all of the minerals to supply that as well. We do see Dark Templar on the field, and there are the 3 we were talking about. He is splitting them up, and I don't know if this was just by coincidence of seeing this, but there is now a observer out, so wow, this is very fortunate of CCalms to have an observer out to help out against these Dark Templar, but this expansion is going to lose quite a few probes. You can see him queuing up all these probes, and we're going to check back in the main here to see no detection here in the main, so this main is going to be under siege. A Forge is trying to warp in, and we're going to see these Dark Templar really go to work on these probes. You can see him queuing them up just like before, and all these probes are going to have to evacuate to the safe haven of this observer since the Forge is not done yet. So he's going to try to focus down the Forge. He need the blue Protoss player really needs to cancel this. I'm not sure if he did. It's hard to tell sometimes if he lost it or if he canceled it. Two Stalkers are just standing around here, really not helping at all, since they can't fire at cloaked units unless they have detection. There's another Nexus going down for Calms here at his third, whereas his natural is still unoccupied. Blink Stalkers are deciding to move out, trying to establish a little bit of presence. Calms is now supply blocked. He was there for a moment. These Dark Templars are trying to focus down pylons in the main so that Calms has no reinforcement potential and just hoping that he doesn't have an observer out in order to try to deal with that. Now at this point, if you have good enough attention, you can try to meld your two Dark Templar into an Archon, so he wouldn't just outright lose those two Dark Templars since he was obviously being detected. Try to meld them into an Archon and try to do as much damage as possible with that Archon now instead of just outright losing it. So something that I don't think a lot of players really think of when their Dark Templars are under siege. They kind of just send them in and say, you guys go to work and I'll be back here doing something else. Nexus is almost done for Dahl at his natural. More Dark Templars are being warped in here. I'm not sure that I fully agree with sticking to the Dark Templar since we know we have detection on the field. And since Zealots would probably be a little bit better choice since they can tank more damage, or putting out more robotics units. Stalkers blink right into the main. They're going to focus down this robotics before this Immortal finishes. Charge is done for these Zealots, so he's going to try to corner these Stalkers, but the Stalkers can obviously blink out. This one's going to get stranded because he did not blink properly. He needed to be fired from his schooling. And this Dahl is holding rather well here with this unit composition of, it's now going to be Archon, Immortal, Zealot, Blink Stalker, Charge Zealot, Blink Stalker. So a lot of weird upgrade and tech pass going on here. You can see how much more open the Protoss versus Protoss match is now that the Warp Gate nerf has discouraged people from going 4-gate so often.